If you're ready to unlock more better days, to take control of your health, to push past your limits and unleash your full potential, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Dr. Jeremy Bettel. For over 2 decades, I've worked with elite athletes and high performers, helping them optimize their bodies, strengthen their minds, and recover from setbacks. Now I'm bringing that expertise to you through the Vitality Collective podcast. In each episode, we'll dive deep into the science, strategies, and real-world solutions you can apply right away. Whether it's enhancing your physical performance, avoiding or recovering from injury, sharpening your mental edge, or simply feeling your best every single day. With insights from top experts and thought leaders, this podcast is designed to help you take action, feel better, and live the life that you deserve. Welcome to the Vitality Collective podcast, where every day is vital. Today I'm joined by Shaun Bemis, a 20-year Navy intelligence veteran who discovered ultramarathon running while working through depression and identity loss after leaving the military. What started as a goal to run the New York City Marathon before 40 became a journey to 100K races, DNFs that taught him way more than victories, and a 75K race on Mount Kilimanjaro. In this episode, we talk about the difference between grind culture and strategic difficulty, why the white belt mentality matters for growth, and how consistency beats intensity every single time. If you're trying to figure out how to do hard things without burning out, or you're stuck comparing yourself to who you used to be, this conversation's for you. Let's get into it. Welcome back, everybody. Today, I am so privileged to welcome Shaun Bemis to the show. Shaun is really out there in the world right now, just doing hard stuff. And I've got so much admiration and respect for that. And this episode actually came out of a LinkedIn post that Shaun put up. And he made this big post about, doing hard things, and hard right now for me is getting out there in public and doing more podcasts, doing more public speaking. So I immediately text Shaun. I'm like, all right, buddy, let's go. Let's get you on the podcast. So Shaun, it's a real privilege to have you on here, mate. I have so much respect for what you're doing now, your background, ever since Leif introduced us a few years back. I've really followed along closely with what you're doing. So thanks for coming on.
No, Jeremy, super excited. Thanks for having me. I could say the same thing back to you. I was super excited when you guys, launched the podcast. I've been following since day one, and I mean, this is awesome. Yep. So thanks for the opportunity to come on, just chat like we do, quite often.
Exactly right. That's really what I wanted to do today, because that topic of doing hard things is really central to a lot of growth and development. I think the discomfort that we experience really drives our growth, but also reveals our current capacity. That's a challenging thing for people, and a confronting thing, I think. And so what brought you to this process you're going through right now in really trying to push your edges?
Yeah, I was, so a 20-year military guy. Fitness wise, I would kind of go in and out. I was an Intel nerd. So for me, it was sitting in front of a computer, finding the enemy, analyzing things, like providing support, like that. That's what I was there to do. Right. And so there were times, I would spend 12, 18 hours in front of a computer, and like that was my contribution. And late in life, actually I was in New York City for Thanksgiving with the family, and I was going out and running a decent amount for me at the time. And it was really just, we had a small Airbnb, and I just needed a few minutes to myself to start the day. And at the end of the trip, my mother-in-law was like, hey, how far are you going to run tomorrow? And we were in Brooklyn. I was like, oh, maybe I'll run to Manhattan. And she just kind of laughed and was like, okay. And I was like, well, now I have to. So I got my phone out, I'm like, figured out, how do I get there? And there was just something about that run, went over a couple bridges, and I came back, and I was just like, you know what? I want to run the New York City Marathon before I'm 40. I had no idea how hard it is to get into the New York City Marathon. But started training for it. And at the time we had our youngest daughter, we had just had her. and I'm up late at night holding her on YouTube. How do you run a marathon? I found these ultra marathons and kind of went down that rabbit hole, and they came back before the marathons did, post pandemic. And so I just kind of jumped straight into it. So my wife likes to joke, it's just my midlife crisis. It's just something that I was like, I kind of felt I needed a change. And I think the other big thing is I realized, like, I used to go out and run, and I'd run as hard as I could, as fast as I could, for as long as I could. And I mean, I'd get a mile into a run. I'm like, this sucks, man. Like, this is awful. And I just had this realization of, guys, I've gotten older, like, oh, I can slow down. I can stop. Like, no one's judging me. Like, it's me against me. And so, like, I can just, like, relax. I can take it easy. And, like, that's okay. And having that realization was a real turning point for me to then go out and do harder and longer efforts.
Yeah. And it's interesting, isn't it? You become more strategic as you start doing a thing, as you start realizing that it's about the goal, not the day, that training event. And I think there's a discipline and there's a difficulty around that. Somewhat of maybe it's an ego barrier that you've got to get over, or a comparison to the past. I used to be a really good runner and do this pace, and so I should, all the shoulds, be doing this. Right. And so that's a really interesting insight, that as you get better, as you start doing more, you start realizing, it's not all about redlining the whole way.
Yeah. I've seen, parts of cities that I would have never seen without running and without having these experiences. And for me, some of the running has become more about exploring the world and myself, and not about the performance itself. Not about the splits and those kind of things. But I remember the last time I was in Barcelona, and I'm running through the Gothic Quarter, and it's early. And there's this bakery that, to be honest, I don't even know if they were open yet, man. But I run past and I get a whiff of something, and I turned around, I went in, I grabbed a croissant, and it was just the best. I would have never found that bakery. And I remember, 2 years later, I remember that bakery, those guys that were in there, it was incredible. And I would have never found that without and without running. And if I would have been worried about my splits and all this different stuff, I wouldn't have had that experience. So and I have countless other stories about those things happening while running that, again, was a real turning point. And it's life. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be enjoyable. It's not this isn't my profession. It doesn't have to be a grind. There's nothing that is on the line.
So let's touch on that then, because I think we're talking about doing difficult things, and your mind immediately goes to the grind mentality, right? We go right to Jocko Willink, and everything's got to be as hard as it can possibly be all the time. I don't feel like it's about that. I love this thought about living your life and the joy and the fun, and accomplishing something really hard, being a part of that. I think that there's a big distinction there between grind culture and doing hard stuff. Right? Yeah. It's almost like a strategic difference almost.
For sure. I think and maybe it is that I was in the military where it was things were life and death. And, being able to find running at the end of that military career and realizing that hey, this is not life and death. It is okay. If I have a bad day, if I have a bad workout, it doesn't really matter. And to your point, I think it translates into all walks of life, all your different areas of life, to where sometimes it feels if I'm starting this business, I have to be putting in 12 hours a day. I have to be grinding. I have to be doing all these things, where if you're more strategic about it, you're actually going to do more. You're going to come back fresher. You're going to come back with new ideas that you didn't necessarily have when you're in your 10th, 11th, 12th hour work that day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting because it's such a perfect analogy. I know I am at the start of my running career right now. I was a really good runner actually when I played rugby. And then 20 years later, I haven't run further than 100 yards since then. And so now it really feels like for me, I'm still in that mode of like, okay, I got to maintain my split, and it's hard. Like I hate it still, right? Because every run is so hard. And so I compare that to the first year in business as we're starting Vitality Collective.
Yeah.
And how many hours I was so anxious and nervous because I just didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what I was doing. We didn't have enough money coming in. And so I'm just standing here at the desk in front of the computer, like just staring at it. Right. But if I do that for 16 hours, surely I'm working hard enough. Right.
Yeah.
And it's such a perfect analogy to go between like entrepreneur and starting one of these really difficult projects, because we want to get to a marathon as well. Right.
Yeah.
Michelle and I are both doing this. And
that's
so
awesome.
that's a really important analogy. And I think it brings us to a through line here of resilience. And so much of pushing your boundaries and going to your limits of your capacity is about giving you capacities to do other hard things. I first came across this in sport through a guy called Professor Tim Noakes, who's a nowadays rather controversial figure over in South Africa. But he had the central governor theory, where just like the governor on the bus that doesn't let you go very fast, you've got one in your brain. And it allows you to take your body to a certain point and then shuts you down through fear of injury. The more frequently you push to that limit, the further you can push. But the same is true. If you don't go there, you're unable to get there. Right. So it will actually downregulate you. So that was something we used in sport a lot, was we had to take guys to their limit. Periodically, but regularly, we had to take them there and just show them where the line was so that they could get there, so that their body could know it was safe and that was their real limit. But we do find it applies across the board, right? When you don't know how to do stuff, when you're in a stressful moment, you can apply those same principles.
For sure. I mean, my wife is Israeli. We've got 2 young children. You know, she speaks Hebrew. She speaks it with them. Her mother, and my wife and I have been together for 15 years at this point. Hopefully she doesn't listen to this part. 15 years. And, I just can't pick up the language, right? I've gotten to the point where like I can understand the through line of a conversation. I know when my mother-in-law is talking about me, but I can't always follow the details, right? And as much as I've tried, and it's such a it's scary to then try to speak Hebrew with them, right? And I've got it to where like I can talk to my 8 and my 5-year-olds, basic things: sit down, be quiet, eat. What do you want? But like beyond that, right? It's a real struggle, and there is this fear of like, well, if I start speaking in Hebrew, I'm going to sound stupid. I'm going to come off like I'm unintelligent. They're going to laugh at me and make fun of me. And I do think that some of my, ultra running has translated to where like, hey, I'm more willing to put myself out there because I've done these things that I've done races where I've completely failed, where I have not finished, did not finish DNF, and like, I'm okay. And I've come back from those things, and I've gone back to those races and finished them and done these different things. And I think, it applies to learning a language, learning music, whatever it is. The more you can translate those things into different areas of your life and see that like, hey, I failed. Everything is okay. I woke up the next day, my life went on, and now I can learn from this and get better, the next time I try this thing, or if I do something new in a different area.
Yeah, Michelle and I refer to that as the white belt mentality.
Yeah.
You walk into everything with that fresh perspective on it. Just when you knew nothing, you had so much to learn. And I think we do get to that point where we become really good in our area. And it becomes hard to be vulnerable and not be good at something.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that held me back in the running is this is my career. This is my profession, is optimizing physical performance.
Yeah.
So am I going to step out into public now and be really shitty at something? right? At least as I judge myself against, if you look at who I've spent my life around, I spent my life around the world's best athletes.
Yeah.
So of course my performance is shitty, right? Like compared to what I'm surrounded by, but so what?
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't matter. Like I'm not competing in their league.
Right.
And so I think when we want to improve at anything at our edges, it is about getting over that embarrassment.
Yeah.
Like you don't get better at the language if you don't speak it.
For sure. No, I think you bring up a really good point where like, yeah, you work with professional athletes, right? Like I was around the second half of my Navy careers with the SEAL teams. Like I'm not going to be those dudes physically. You're not going to be in the gym hooping, or I'd love to see you on ice skates sometime. Maybe you can't skate, but like I know I can't. So like, get you back out with the Leafs and see what you can do. But I think today, right, with like I just recently joined Instagram. Never been on Instagram, and which is kind of cool because like I have full control of my algorithm right now. And I just signed up for it. I just signed up for a triathlon, for an Ironman, full Ironman. Never done a triathlon. Literally just put my bike together. Like didn't own a bike. Haven't been in the pool in a decade plus. And so I get on Instagram and I'm filling my algorithm with Ironman stuff, right? And how to swim and how to bike and do all this. But of course, it's the elites. It's the best of the best that I'm finding to learn from.
Yeah.
Right. And, I sign up my local YMCA to get time in the pool, and I get there. And, I'm like, at the time I'm going, like, I'm one of the youngest guys there. I'm still one of the fittest guys there. And I get in the pool next to this guy who's got, twice my BMI. And I'm like, all right, let's go. Yeah. And this dude is just smoking me. And I'm like, oh my God, like, it's so embarrassing, where I'm like, no. Like, I mean, I've done some hard things. Like I'm somewhat athletic. Like, here, look at my ultra sign up. Like, let me show you the things I've done. Right. Like I want to like justify like, why this dude is just destroying me in the pool. And it's like, at the end of the day, like that guy has no idea who I am. We've never talked. I see him for 30 minutes Monday mornings, and that's it. Like, it's okay. Like, it doesn't matter. And at some point, he was me in the pool. He didn't just jump in the pool. It was Michael Phelps. So yeah.
And that's what that guy is actually thinking is, man, good job. Because I deal with that a lot with people coming into the weight room, people coming into gyms for the first time who are out of shape. They're just starting. They're so intimidated by the people who are in there lifting heavy weights, great physiques. It's an intimidating environment, and they think they're being judged. Yeah. But what's actually happening is those people are like, man, great job being in here. And when you start stacking those days and they see you consistently putting in effort, it's respect that they're feeling. It's not like, oh my God, look at this person. And so that it is something like, I have so many of those stories from things that I've started. I started jujitsu right before COVID. I was loving it and then got shut down. But like, I played rugby. I'm a big dude. I'm pretty strong. And I'd go in there and look like physically like, okay, I can take anyone in here pretty much. I'm pretty comfortable with this. And you get paired up. You line up in rank order, and I'm the whitest of white belts. Like I borrowed my gi, right? From the lost and found, right?
Yeah.
And the guy I get paired with, like similar, he's like overweight, like his body fat's pretty high. He's obviously had a cigarette in the car before he's come in because he stinks of smoke, right? And I'm like, oh man, this guy is going to struggle. He's got to work out today. Man, this guy like worked me around the mat. Like he destroyed me to the point where I'm about having a panic attack at one point. Like he's got me tied up. And you're just like, oh my God.
One thing I have absolutely loved about the ultra community is that, like, I think everyone there, for the most, like, it's hard. I don't care who you are, to run anything about beyond a marathon is hard. And like, I know there's a local.
I'll just add. Let me interrupt. Let's say anything above like 3 miles.
No, running is hard. running is hard.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter, right? Like, and I mean, to your point, I've gone out on like, 3-mile runs and come back smoked. And I'm like, what just happened today? Like, that was weird. And then I've gone on like 20-mile runs and I come back feeling like I just ran a 5K and I feel great and on top of the world. And, I'm looking up like Olympic trial times because I'm like, man, I just smoked that thing. But in the ultra community, it really is this respect of like, man, you were just out here. And it's like, it's interesting. Like in the marathon community, I think a lot of times there's like, well, what was your time? How'd you do? What was your time?
Yeah.
In the ultra community, people are just like, you finished? Like, way to go. That's awesome.
Right.
Like, you crushed it. You got out here. You did a hard thing. Congrats. And that's one of the things that really I gravitated towards, that, the really hard stuff was that there was just a respect of just like, you're just out here grinding. You're just out here doing it. And it was just such a cool vibe that it was like, there was just respect for doing it and not the time or where you placed or anything like that.
Yeah. And I think that brings us really nicely into the fact that hard is very personal.
Yes.
Everybody has their level of difficulty. It's just totally different for different people. And someone who's a genetically very gifted runner, effort is not going to equal difficulty. Right. They might go for a run once a week and they'll always be able to cruise past me. I'm just not built for that. And so that's something I'm going to have to work towards. But what it also highlights for me is that doing hard things isn't just for these like superheroes. It's not just for your Navy SEALs. It's not just for your ultra running, like you think about the Ironman champions, right?
Yeah.
It's for ordinary people.
For sure.
And I think that's the point. The crossover not only into doing other things and dealing with stress and resilience better, but also like self-esteem, mental health, you starting to identify yourself as a person who can do hard things. I think that there's a really important message here for that in helping people understand that this is for them, not just for the people that we've worked with, or if we're perceived as people because we're sort of a little more in the public eye as people who do hard stuff, like it's hard for us too.
Yeah. No, that's a great point, that it's hard is hard. It doesn't matter, if it's an ultra marathon, a 5K. Like, I was having a conversation with my wife the other day where we're talking about this Ironman, and I haven't run a 100-miler yet, and that's like on my path, right? Like, at some point, probably at the end of next year, that's something I'll do. And me doing hard things came out of also like, dealing with depression and dealing with self-esteem issues, dealing with identity loss when I left the military. And it was a way for me. It wasn't a replacement for therapy because I was already doing that, but it was an add-on to, hey, let me kind of have time by myself, sort myself out, figure out who I am, understand that I can do hard things. And it's been incredible for my mental health. Like, to the point to where like, if I'm like, yesterday I was having kind of an off day. My wife looked at me and she was like, did you work out today? And I was like, no, today was a rest day. It was an intentional rest day. She was like, maybe you should. I'm like, nope, I need to rest. But, today I worked out for 2 hours this morning. Yeah. And, helps keep that balance. And so my wife and I were discussing, kind of what's next for me. And she got very serious and a little concerned and was like, hey, what happens when you can't do these things anymore? Like, what happens to you then? And I was like, look, right now I can run, I could go out and run a 100-miler. I can do an Ironman. But one day it's going to be a 50-miler. It is going to be my limit. And it'll be a 50K. Yeah. And it'll be a marathon and on down. And I was like, to be honest, hopefully we're both still around when like me to just go to the bathroom is going to be hard. And like, that is my hard thing, is to get out of bed and be able to make it to the bathroom. But I want to be able to appreciate that whatever my hard is. I think you mentioned earlier where it's like comparing myself to the old me. Like right now, that's a good thing. Like right now, I'm like, look, I'm getting it. Like I'm in a good place. I'm in some of the best shape of my life right now. Like, yeah, let's all day compare myself to the 30-year-old Shaun. But there will come a point where I'm going to look back at like the 45-year-old Shaun, be like, man, like I can't do it anymore. And I don't want to be in that place to where like, I want to appreciate that whatever my heart is today, that's my heart. That's where I am. I can't change it, other than I'm going to go out and do a hard thing today and, be able to be comfortable with myself and sit in that space, because I do need to be doing these hard things. And there may become a day where it can't be physical and it becomes a mental thing, or, like I'll have to adjust. It'll be a new season of life. And like, I just have to find that thing.
Yeah. That's a really important point there. And I want to touch on it here for people, is that we're digging into a lot of physical stuff, and I'm going to come back to that, but difficult is in all aspects of life.
Yeah.
And we're talking about physical, and a mentor of mine told me one time in a program I was going through, there's difficult easy and there's difficult. And the things you're good at already, you can push to your limits pretty readily. Like, we are pretty physically active guys. And so for us to go and do a killer workout where we're falling down, we're at our capacity, difficult.
Yeah.
It's hard, but we don't mind doing it. So that doesn't really count, Right. You and I had the conversation about the speaking, right? For some people, it might be setting boundaries, right?
Yeah.
Having difficult conversations. It might, like for me, like launching the podcast was hard, right? Putting this out there. Whatever it is in your life, the difficult is the stuff you don't want to do. That can be where this stuff can help you. When you can take the lessons from the difficult, easy, the limits you like to push to, and be like, okay, well, how do I do that? Right? It's controlling your breath, controlling your mind, controlling your self-talk, feeling the sensations in your body and being able to cope with them. Which is a different set of sensations when you're running and it's difficult and you've got all those internal sensations. When you feel those same sensations and you're sitting still and you're about to have a difficult conversation and your palms are sweating, it's very uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
How have you found that translation, like between the two?
Yeah. No, I think, first of all, going back to the central governor conversation, right? If you don't just jump to difficult, like at least I can't, right? Like I'm not somebody, I can't just go to difficult. I have to have those difficult, easy to train myself, train my body, train my mind that, hey, I can go do hard things, right? And to your point about the fit, like it's fun for me, right? Sometimes when I see on my schedule, like, all right, this workout, it's going to be, as we say in the team, like, it is going to be a dick dragger. Like, you are going to be on the ground. Like, it's going to be rough. And like, there's days, like, not all the time. There are days I'm like, all right, let's go. Like, I'm excited. I'm fired up. That's difficult, easy. Difficult is, so my last race, I actually had a chance to go to Tanzania. I ran a 75-kilometer race on Mount Kilimanjaro.
Wow.
10,000 feet of gain. Like it was an incredible opportunity of a lifetime. The day before, 2 days before the race, I found out that like a job I had, basically they voided the contract. They're like, there was a mistake, contract's voided.
Oh man.
Sign the new contract. So, and I'm like, well, I'm not doing that. The next day, I'm literally in a tent on the side of Mount Kilimanjaro, hours before I go do this race, trying to Zoom call with an employment lawyer and be like, hey, what rights do I have? All this stuff.
Oh,
right?
wow.
And we get off the call. And my wife looks at me and she's like, all right, we need to do X, Y, and Z. We need to do these things. And I kind of mentioned, right, I had 2 races where I DNF'd. And both of those times I was going through professional difficulties. Like there were things that like in my professional career, things were going on that just, they weren't going well. And it affected the physical. And for me to actually look at my wife, first of all, and say no, is a difficult thing. That is something I've struggled with and that
Yeah.
is a difficult for me to look at my wife and say,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do this right now. But I did. I looked at her and I said, look, I can't have any more conversations about this right now. I'm about to go do a
Mhm.
hard thing and I need to be all in. And she, like, thankfully she's amazing. She's incredible. She was like, all right, got it. Like, let's just get
Yeah.
you sorted. And there was a point during the race where, like, I mean, I was doing really well. I was a little slow. I've never run in the mountains, right? I'm from South Florida. Like, so this was a
Right.
this was a difficult for me. Like, it was a whole
Yeah.
different experience. And there was a point where I started chasing the cutoff, where there was one last climb. Everyone had told me it was all downhill. It wasn't. There was one last climb, really difficult.
Yeah.
Took a ton out of me. And there was a stretch where I went into a really, like, and it wasn't physical. I physically could still run. I could. And every time I went to run, there was just something that was like, you can't do this. You're not good enough. You're failing in your professional career. You're failing in life. Why did you think you could come and go run up a mountain? And I sat in this dark place for a while. And I come up to an aid station. I see the race director, and there's a very strict cutoff because the last 4 miles go through this forest, and there's elephants in the forest after dark that, like, literally it's like life threatening, right? So they're like, you can't, like, you have to be out of here. And I see the race director and I'm like, he's about to put me in the truck. I've come all this way and he's not going to let me run the end of this race. Like, it's done. And so I'm coming up and I see him taking pictures, and I've known him for about a year now. And I'm like, all right, Brett's not a dick. He's not taking pictures to be like, this is the moment I pulled Shaun off the course. So I'm coming up and I'm like, maybe I still have a chance. And I stop, and fortunately my wife was there at that aid station, and we have a quick talk. I get some food, which again is rare for it. That's rare for me too. So, like, physically I was good. And he looks at me, he's like, all right, you ready for what you need to do? I'm like, all right, let's go. And he says, you've got 2.5 hours to run a half marathon. I'm like, all right. So he's like, it's about a 10:30 per mile pace. I'm like, okay. He goes, now, fortunately, it's all downhill and there's nothing technical. And I looked at him, I was like, Brett, I've heard that before. And he goes, no. I swear it's
4 miles.
Yeah. And he was just like, no, I promise you, it's all downhill and nothing technical. I'm like, all right, let's go. And for the next about 8 miles, I was putting down about 9-minute miles. I ended up finishing in plenty of time. And I was able to go back to those other two, failures, those other 2 DNFs.
Yeah.
And kind of go back to that well and be like, all right, first of all, I don't want to do that again. I've been there. Let me learn from that. I was able to have that conversation with my wife the night before and say, look, this is important to me, that I come here, that I finish. Like, my head needs to be in this. And then I was just able to rely on the training that I had done, where, like, your quads at that point are just smoked, and I could just feel them tight, and I thought they were going to go, and I just trusted my training and I kept the turnover and I was able to finish. And it's about taking all those lessons and stacking them, right? Because if I would have been in that situation without having gone through the things I had before, I don't get through that. But I attribute that as much to the mental and the emotional as the physical, because the physical was always there. The physical never left me that day. It was the mental and the emotional that I learned from, and I was able to stack those things. And those are difficult for me, because I was not a well-adjusted person 10 years ago. Like, I just wasn't.
Yeah.
And at the finish line, I actually looked to my wife and I told her, because I'd had 2 deployments to East Africa with the SEAL teams, and so it was kind of a full circle moment to come back as a better person and have this experience with my wife now. And we had this moment at this finish line where I said, look, the last time I left here, I was not okay. I'm not going home the same way. Wow. And even though I didn't have a job, even though, like, we didn't know what we're doing for money, I went home a way better person than I would have otherwise. So
there's, again, so many important points in there. We had a conversation with Taylor Johnson, who was a performance coach in esports, and we talked about elite cognitive performance and how meditation is essentially the training for the cognitive performance.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And using those lessons, just like you did, in the heat of the moment, that's the challenge, isn't it? It's taking your practice that you've been in that space over and over and over again, but being able to recall that when it's difficult, when you're under pressure, in the heat of the moment, and not allow yourself to deviate, but to trust and fall back onto that training. Know that you have the tools, know that you've done the work, that your body can and will do it. That's that next step, I think, in doing the hard thing consistently allows you to call upon it when you really need it. If you wait until that moment, it won't be there for you. It's not going to be there.
For sure. And it wasn't for me in the past, right? Like I very explicitly knew when my wife, I get off the call with the lawyer, my wife's like, we need to do A, B, and C. And I'm like, I can't. I just cannot, because I know what the result will be. In the past, this was the result. So I need to modify my behavior in this moment to be able to go do this thing. And, learning those lessons. And I think a lot of times, right, like when you talk about meditation, you talk about visualization, right? I've had a race where the end was literally touching the ocean. That was the finish line.
Yeah.
And so I would go on beach runs, but I wouldn't touch the ocean. I would not allow myself to touch the ocean. And I was like, I don't get that until I finish this race. That is the payoff. And I don't know if you've seen Ironman stuff, like you finish an Ironman, if you're a first time finisher, there's a bell, right?
Wow.
And you ring the bell and everyone knows you're a first time finisher. Well, guess what? I put a bell up in my garage. I will not touch that thing until I've earned it, but it's there.
Yeah.
Right. So to tell me, hey, this is it. But I also think people so often use only the positive mental imaging. Only the positive stuff. It's going to be the perfect day and the perfect race and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really important to have those moments where like you put yourself in a situation where things are hard so you can visualize the hard things. Because, I've never run a perfect race. I've never had a perfect race. I never will. If I have a perfect race, it means I didn't push myself. It means I didn't go hard enough. I didn't go to the well. I didn't do the best that I could do. So I've never had one of those. I've never run a perfect meeting. I've never, been on a perfect podcast. Like it doesn't exist. And so how do you react? How do you get through those mistakes, those difficult times? How do you in the moment, right? Like you said, it's when you have to be on and have to perform. How do you get through it in the moment? And if you don't visualize the bad times and you don't visualize the mistakes and you don't have something to recall in those moments, you're gonna fail. There's just no way around it. You will fail, whether it's to fail to hit your goal or to fail and just to finish. It just won't happen.
I love that so much, the visualization of the bad thing. You're right. Yeah. So much of visualization is about the perfect scenario. But that's not when you need all this stuff.
No.
You need, what happens when it goes wrong? What happens when you got that blister on your foot, right? And you've got to, okay, well, what will I do? You can rehearse those scenarios. What will I do when this happens? You can plan for the worst case scenario and plan solving that problem.
Yes.
Because that's not going to be easy when you're in the heat of battle.
Right.
But if you've got something to fall back on, again, you're training. But I love that concept of the visualization because it's not something that's common.
Yeah. And I think you see it in sports, right? Like, I saw it with the SEAL teams where when you're in training, you could be on and you could be having the best day, right? Like we'd be in a scenario, like when I was with the teams, we're training, we're doing something. And I'm looking around at my team and I'm like, we're killing it. Like, this is great. Like it's going to be the best debrief because they're going to be like, guys, we've never seen training this good. Like you're the greatest team ever. And they would just come in and take my best analyst and be like, oh, hey, you're dead. All right, guys, work around it. And you're like, well, wait a minute, what? And just no matter what, right? There was always something where it was like, you're not going to get through a perfect scenario.
Yeah.
We are going to fuck this situation up and you're going to deal with it. You're going to have to figure it out. Right. And I know like coaching, the coaches do it all the time too. Right. Like training session's going perfect. All right. Hey, this guy's out, or let's add another defender, or we're going to add this restriction. You can only play 2 touch, whatever it is. Right. You add those layers to where there are mistakes, and it's not perfect, because in the game, in real life, it's never going to be perfect.
Yeah. So let's talk through some of that then, because, we talked early on about beginning that running program, right? And I'm right there right now. I'm redlining every session.
Yeah.
Right. And I need to make that tactical shift, particularly as, now I'm sort of I'm at that 5K sort of level. So you're at threshold, and you can grind through that.
Yeah.
But as our next step, we've got one more 5K, then we're going to go to a 10K.
Nice.
Now you can't redline a 10K.
Yeah.
Right. You can't redline the training for a 10K.
Right.
So talk me through that adjustment into the strategic running. And this goes more broadly. We're going to talk about this from a very specific lens, but more broadly, this goes from how do we make that transition from difficult, easy to difficult, which is the planning, the strategy, the discipline. How would you approach that?
So, I mean, again, I was there, right? Where I told you, like, I used to go out and redline everything and just be like, this sucks. Like, there's no ball and no one's chasing me. Why am I running this hard? Like, there's no point. And, I discovered zone 2 running, and I don't know if you've messed around with this yet, but to be honest, I don't know if it's difficult easy or difficult hard. I'm really not sure, because like, even today, right? I went out for like a zone 2 run, and I feel like I'm just like dragging, right? I feel like, because you're just like, I can go harder. I can run harder. What am I doing?
Yeah.
And I remember days, right, when I first started, and I mean, you're in Florida now, right? South Florida, like, and I'm running in the middle of the day, or I'm running, in June and July. And when I say running to stay in zone 2, I would have to walk. And I'm like, this is like,
that's why I'm laughing.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is
I tried zone 2 running. I'm like, no, I can't go slow enough.
Yes. And it's so maddening, right? And you're just like, and again, you're like, everyone's judging me. That Toyota goes by. You're like, they're judging me. The Honda goes by. They're judging me.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh my God. Like, and you got the water bottle, and you got like, you look like you're out to run. And here you are just walking down the sidewalk. And you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And so again, I don't know if it's difficult easy or difficult hard, but to do things like that.
That brings in like something else that we were talking about, doesn't it? Like in that white belt mentality, the real fear is judgment, not difficulty in some cases.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a part of this transition.
I think so. It's either judgment from others, or it's judgment of yourself, right?
Yeah.
Is you're just like, well, I can't even run. I can't do this, right? Like, this should be simple, and it's not. And, I think it's interesting, because when you're a kid, like, I don't think you really cared. You would go out, right? When you're learning rugby, I was a soccer player growing up, like, and you would go to learn a new skill, and you're like stepping on the ball, and you're tripping. And like, my youngest just started soccer, and she, like, just the joy and the like I have to talk to her about like toning it down almost, right? Like, hey, like, you got to like stop jumping around, like coach is talking, right? Like, just bring it down for a second, and listen. And like, there's just no like frustration with her. And like, it's pure joy. And as adults, when you go to do those things and you start to stack those bricks and learn these new skills, and it's so difficult to admit that, like, I'm not good at this, and I have to do like, I should be better. I should be able to do these things. And so doing zone 2 running, like, I still deal with it. Again, we're like, right, like, I'm on Strava, I'm on Instagram now. I'm like, I'm looking at these, like, what was it? I watched this video the other day. And of course, this kid's like half my age. He's like some 22-year-old, but he's like, I went out on a 5K, just simple run, zone 2. My pace was like 7-minute miles, and my heart rate was 113. I'm like, you asshole. Like,
what?
Like,
were you on your bike?
I'm like, my heart rate's 113 putting my shoes on. Like,
Yeah.
who is this kid and what is he doing?
Yeah.
Right. And so you have that comparison stuff too. And I think a lot of times it's difficult to sit in that white belt space because you want to get to the end. You want to get to where, oh, I can do this and it's easy. And I like, it's not embarrassing. And you skip steps. And I think a lot of times when people start out, they skip the important steps and they don't have a solid foundation. And then it's just not fun. Right. Like if I were to go sit down and play the piano right now and, I would need to start playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Like if I broke out Bach and Mozart, like I would hate it.
Yeah.
I'd be like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Like, why would I ever do this? I can't, I can't play the piano. But for whatever reason, I think a lot of times in the physical stuff, we're just like, we want to jump straight to the end. And it's like, no, you got to sit in the white belt. You got to sit in that zone too. And it'll get better. Like I promise you, it will improve and it'll get better. But like you have to sit there and allow yourself to build those building blocks.
And you mentioned something there I'd like you to expand on a little bit. You said like you're stacking bricks. And this is something that I see you post about a lot. Explain that to us as far as consistency goes. Because we got the pace thing. Okay, we can slow down. We can get into zone 2. But if I do that like once every 3 weeks,
right?
Or 3 times 1 week, 6 times 1 week, and then I don't run the next week.
Yeah.
Like, talk to us about stacking bricks.
Yeah. No, I think, you mentioned Jocko earlier. You look at like David Goggins. Like I get a lot of things about those guys, right? Just the Navy connection and all of that. And it's, like Goggins is funny. Like, and I mean, he's fine, right? He's great for people.
Yeah.
Right. And you see the little clips like, oh, I wasn't going to work out today. And then they flash to Goggins and he's like, but then I remembered I wasn't a pussy. And it's like, wait, what? Like, I mean,
is that helpful?
Yeah, right. Like, is it? And I guess in some situations, for some people, it is.
For some people, yeah.
For a moment, right? For me, I'm just kind of like, I mean, cool, bro. Like, good story, but like, I don't care. And it's all about, right? Like, can you show up and just keep doing the thing, even when it's difficult, even when you didn't have a good day, even when you don't want to. And like, I am a big proponent of like listening to your body. And like, I don't follow a strict plan, right? I have a loose plan. I have my left and right limits and I just kind of go with it. And if I wake up in the morning and I'm just not feeling it. And like this workout just isn't going to be productive for me, right? I will find another way to do something, but like, I'm not going to force it. And I think if you show up long enough and keep doing those things, right? Because if I wake up and it's like, it's going to be a grind workout. It's just, that's what's prescribed. It's just one of those threshold VO2 max. Like, I mean, it's just going to beat the dog shit out of me. And like, I'm just not feeling it. Like, well, maybe it's better for me to go do a zone 2 run, but still get that in, right? I'm still showing up and I'm still finding a way to keep my body moving, to be productive on that day. And I will get enough of those in. I will get enough of those threshold workouts in that like, it'll pay off over time. But I don't want to burn out. It's about discipline over motivation, right? If you can be more disciplined on the days that you're not motivated, great. And then the days that I am motivated, like this morning, like, I had a great workout. Like I ran, I got in the pool, like, because I woke up and I was feeling good. I was motivated and I was like, all right, like today's the day to grind. Today is the day to get it and listen to my body and then just building that base. But if you just try to jump to the end, it's going to suck. It's just going to be awful. You're going to burn out. You're not going to be happy with your performance.
Yeah, the message of intensity versus consistency, I think, is such an important one. Like you say, if you try and push, if you try and start this at difficult, if you start this at perfect, right? Okay, I'm going to work out every day for 2 hours. You're not going to. You'll do it for a week, but nobody ever got in shape in a week.
Right.
It doesn't matter how long your workouts are, how perfect they are.
Yeah.
It's about 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, right? It's stacking the bricks for me it is that. Like, how do we build a wall?
Yeah.
Right. And how do we add real consistency, real height? It doesn't have to be perfect. You can't miss big blocks.
Yeah.
You can't go too hard for big blocks. It's about how do we balance this workout to make it sustainable for the long run so that we can get through. And one of the guys that we had on, Dr. Michael Joyner, he's probably the godfather of VO2 research.
Yeah.
Right. And you have a guy like that on, and it's a little intimidating, frankly.
Right.
This guy is like, he is the research body in VO2 max.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And so I'm asking him, okay, how should we train? How much of all this stuff do I have to do? And I'm, you get your notebook out and you're thinking, okay, am I going to be able to understand this? And he goes, yeah, this is easy. He's like, I came up with a running haiku. Run a lot of miles, some of them faster than race pace, rest once in a while.
Yeah.
I'm like,
that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, just do that and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like, for me right now, I'm redlining. I hate it. It's so hard. And I think part of my transition to strategy, and I think I'm sort of getting there now, is like, I want to enjoy this. Like, I want to enjoy this process and be able to run a marathon.
Yeah.
That's the hard thing. My 1.75 mile training run shouldn't be the hard thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing too and I kind of mentioned it earlier, but like one of the things that really helped me was like, going out with like my kids and running. And it was like, we would run to the ice cream shop, right? Like that was the run. We would run to the park and take a break. Like my favorite runs when I first started, my wife actually like didn't run until I took the kids out all the time. She's like, wait a minute, like I want to hang out with the kids. So then she would join me.
Yeah.
And we had a Panera that was like, I don't know, a mile and a half from the house. And so we would run there for breakfast, like on a Saturday, Sunday, stop, have breakfast. And like, I didn't stress that like, oh, this was a broken up 5K in my training. It was like, no, this is cool. And I think if you can find like different places to run and like, like I find myself all the time now, like I'm driving around and just the other day, I don't know why I've never seen it. I saw someone like run down a path that I've just never noticed. Right. And it's not really a path. It's like, I mean, it might be trespassing. I'm not 100% sure but I'm going to find out soon because I'm going to go run there. Right. But I'm looking around and I'm like, where, like I found there was like a fence that had been like knocked down again, probably trespassing, but it's knocked down to like get to another road. And I'm like, oh, I would have never found this road. But like, as I drive around, I'm like, what's this? What's this? Oh, let me explore this. I can find this. And, anytime I travel, the first thing I do, right? Like, where am I staying? All right. And then I get on Strava and I'm like, what are the routes? Like, who's already got a route around? What can I see? What are the touristy things that I can go do? And again,
interesting.
I'm not worried about my splits. I'm going to stop and I'm going to take these stupid selfies. And I'm going to last time I was in London, I found this route where I'm like down the Thames and Big Ben and like, then I'm like past, 10 Downing Street and then Windsor Castle. And like, it was this great, like 8-10 mile loop. And I mean, if you would look at my pace and my time, you'd be like, man, what a terrible run. I've got so many cool pictures from this, like, doing this stuff. Like, I hate Arsenal, but like ran up and ran around the Emirates. Right. And like, actually like had a conversation. Some kid's walking around with his mom. He's got his Chelsea kit on and he's like trying to open it up. And his mom's like, close that. And like, I'm like, dude, this is awesome, dude. And I was like, I hate Chelsea too, but like, this is awesome. Like this is what it's, and but just having an adventure because like, I'm not going to remember what my splits were on these runs. Like I don't care how good of a run I had when I was in London. I wouldn't remember what the pace was and what the actual distance was, but I remember that kid trying to show off his Chelsea kit, right? Walking around the Emirates. I remember, right? Like actually how ridiculous it was around Big Ben trying to get a selfie with all the tourists around and like just those things and things with my kids where they were like, we found a baby bird once on a run. Like and like I still remember that
Yeah.
run, like, and we have pictures. I'm like, it should be an adventure. And it's like, then when you get to the race, yeah, sure, run it hard. But I've also, like, I ran the New York City half marathon, and you get a chance to run through Times Square. It's the only other time besides New Year's Eve that they shut down Times Square, not even for the marathon. And I got to Times Square, and I stopped, and I'm taking pictures. Like, because like, I'm like, who, like, again, I'm not a sponsored athlete. I'm not a professional.
Yeah.
There's no bonus at the end of it. There's no podium for me. So who cares that my pace was 2 minutes slower? My official time was 2 minutes slower, because now I've got some pretty cool pictures in Times Square with no cars, and I'm in the middle of the street taking pictures and video. Like, that's the way I've looked at this stuff, is like, I mean, it's giving me, I'm healthier and like all those things, but like the actual training and doing of it, like, it should be fun. It should be an adventure. It should allow you to see the world in a different way that, like, you just wouldn't be able to without going and doing these hard things.
That's the other thing that Dr. Joyner talked about, was that, I was asking him about the importance of VO2 max. And he said, it's not the number, it's not the metric, the VO2 max, it's the doing of the work that's important. And that what's really coming to me as you're talking about this, and is how seriously I take my times on my training runs.
Yep.
Right. And it's about logging miles and being sort of uncomfortable, but enjoying that level of discomfort, it with a view to the longer term accomplishment. Like, I'll take my 5K that's coming up in a couple of weeks. I will take that seriously, and I want to beat my last time.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, isn't it? Because we had a dear friend, she's basically our godmother, was one of the motivations for starting our company, because she got pancreatic cancer and tragically passed. But she would always tell us, like, don't should on yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
I love that. I love that.
I should be doing this, that, or the other, as we said earlier. And so how have you found separating yourself from what you're telling yourself you should be doing or should be able to do in this moment?
That's a really good question. It's hard, right? And there are days when it is easy, right? There are days, for whatever reason, that, like, you're feeling good. Things come together, or it could be a really bad day, but, like, that's not the important thing, right? The workout is not the important thing, because there's something else going on, and, you're not really too concerned about your times. But how do you separate that, man? It's maybe if I had a better answer, I would be a better runner. It's super interesting, because, like, again, I think it's me being able to find the joy in running, right? And it didn't come at first. Like, you're in it right now, where you're just like, this sucks, right? But like, you're going to have a run. You're gonna have a moment where you're like, all right, that was pretty cool, right? And and I had it in the gym when I first started lifting weights, where it was like, you get in, you're embarrassed, all this stuff, and then, like, you get to a point where you're like, oh no, that was pretty cool. That was a good workout.
Yeah.
Or you do something outside the gym, and you realize you wouldn't have been able to do that without going to the gym, right? Something took some strength outside of the gym. And you're like, all right, cool. This is why I do this. And I think just finding those moments that allows you to go to the well, right? Even when you should be able to do something and you can't, for whatever reason, again, maybe it goes back to the stacking bricks. You've stacked enough bricks. You've had enough moments where you've done these cool things. You've seen these cool things. You've had these cool experiences that that, like, hey, even though maybe I didn't hit my goal today, like, that was still pretty cool. Like, whatever I did, or I've had these cool experiences, and, like, today just wasn't it. But, like, I'm still here, and I've still seen this part of the world that nobody else has. Like, there was a moment, one of my races, I'm going through the Everglades, and I'd gotten lost. I was wrecked. My phone had died. I hadn't seen a human in 3 hours. My
man.
brother was going to pace me the last like 14 miles. Like the second to last line in the rule book was no pacers until a certain point. So he wasn't even with me. Right. And I'm just like, done. I'm over this. I like literally just walking. I'm just like not even running anymore. But I come around this bend and there's this full moon and it's low in the sky. And like, and it was almost better that I didn't have my phone because like I would have wanted to be like, oh, I got to take a picture. And it was just this moment where I literally stopped and I was like, how many humans that have walked this earth have been in this spot and seen this moon and had this experience? And, you know, I can go back to that moment when I'm feeling bad about myself. And like, that was a bad moment. Like that part of the race was a bad moment. And then I come around the corner and I get something like that. And it's like, no, it doesn't matter what I should be able to do because I did do this. I was fit enough. I did enough to be here in this moment and have this experience that literally, like, I mean, in all of humanity, there's probably 8 people that were basically in that space that saw a moon like that in all of humanity. And I'm one of them that got to experience that. And like, how cool is that? So like, who cares that I had a bad run today? Who cares that, you know, I didn't hit my A goal? Who cares that like, who cares? I have these moments that nobody can ever take away from me. And it doesn't matter that I can't podium. All that matters is I've had these experiences.
Yeah. And what were the consequences of you not making the podium?
Right. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. To be honest, actually, if I would have made the podium in that race, I wouldn't have seen that moon. So like, right? Like who cares? Right. I got that experience that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fascinating, isn't it? The more the gratitude for being able to do what you can do versus sort of the disappointment of not being able to do what you think you should be able to do. Because that's such a moving target. It's interesting when we do periodically, we'll put a day in our workout schedule that it's basically a central governor workout. And it's on the assault bike, it's 200 calories. And it's as quick as you can. We used to test our NHL guys with it. Leif actually brought this to me.
Nice.
And so your goal is just you set a mark. We had 12 and a half minutes and you just try and beat it. And every time you've got to beat your last time. And I just found that if I set out trying to beat that time, when I first started doing it, I don't think I'd even make 200 calories.
Yeah.
But if I allowed myself the time to adjust to it. So my first day, literally, it was just, don't even be out of breath.
Yeah.
Just go along and just get your 200 calories.
Yep.
And then just over time, you always want to beat it. So next time, you might beat it by 20 seconds. And then you might beat it by another 30. Then you might shave a minute off. And then you get to the point where you're like 1 second faster, 1 second slower, and you are at your psychological, physiological max. But you gradually allow your central governor to adapt to it, where now you actually want to push to that max. You want to do that little next bit. But like you said, if you skip those steps, man, it's a tough day at the office for you.
It is. And then you get the self-doubt and then you don't enjoy it either. You don't enjoy the process. Like, and I think that's another thing that we haven't really touched on, but it's like the process of getting to there. Like, you know, if you don't enjoy the process of it, then like, to be honest, you should probably go find another hard thing to do, right? Like do enough to stay like we're talking about physical fitness, like do enough to stay physically fit. But if you don't enjoy the process, then like go find another difficult to challenge you in life that you enjoy going through and doing, right? Like maybe it is, we've talked about foreign languages. Maybe it is a foreign language where like all of a sudden now you can go watch a French film and you don't have to have subtitles. And like, that's awesome. That's so cool, right? Like I would love to be able to do that. And like to get to that point though, you enjoy the process, right? Because you start listening to music or watching kids shows and then it builds and it builds and it builds. And then, you're actually watching full on films with like adult language and like it all makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and for me, it was like, and I think, you're the same way. We enjoy the process of the physical fitness. We enjoy the process of like, let me go try something new, or let me get to my very max of what I'm capable of. And now let me go one step further and let me go one step further. I've got a 5K I ran last year that my wife sponsored it. And I was just going to be like, hey, easy 5K. Like, I got in for free. So I'm like, just nice little training run. This will be fun. It's 5K. And as I'm leaving, she was like, hey, you think you can get on the podium in your age group? And I was like, I don't know, and she was like, go get on that podium. I was like, son of a bitch. It's like, all right, fine.
Yeah.
And so I go out and I run it, and like, it's a hurt. It's a completely different hurt than an ultra. And like, I can't stand it. I cannot stand it. Like, 20 and whatever it was, 21 minutes of pain. I would rather be in 21 hours of pain than 21 minutes. Like it's just funny. Right. But now again, it's coming up again where my wife is sponsoring it again. And I'm already like, okay, like I'm pretty sure I can beat last year's time. And then can I, right? Like I actually did podium. I finished third in my age group. Like, can I push that further? Can I, like, what were the masters times? Like, could I get like an overall? And like, could I dip under 20 minutes? Like, where could I get to? Like, and I'm not specifically training for it either, right? Because I have bigger goals, but I'm still like, and just like you, right? The assault bike, you're not training to have the best assault bike time, right?
Right.
Like that wasn't the overall goal for the NHL players. But yeah, so it's not something you train for, but I'm still attaching, right? Like, where is my fitness? Where are my goals? Have I improved over last year? And I'm pretty confident I have. So now it's like separating a little bit of my self-worth from the achievement, because what happens if I don't do better, right? I know 100% I'm in better shape today than I was last year, right? Like, there's zero doubt in my mind. Like, I can show you all the metrics. I am fitter today than I was a year ago. So what does that say if I can't beat my time from last year? Like, who cares? Like I don't train for the 5K. Like, and again, like I'm doing it right. When I say a podium, I got like a little, like, I mean, it's like a little league trophy, right? That like we all got, like, I mean, and don't get me wrong, that thing is on like it's on the piano in the living room, right? Like, it's like, and like, I'm like, hey kids, look, like dad won a trophy. Like, I'm not going to act like I don't have an ego about it. But at the end of the day, like, what happens if I don't do better than last year? And like, now it's, well, I should be able to do these things. So it's a funny game we play where it's like, you do want to have those measuring sticks and show progression and show improvement. But what does it matter if on one day you don't hit it? Nothing. It means absolutely nothing.
Right. Exactly right. Well, Shaun, this has been incredible. And as you know, you are a fan of the show. You've listened from the start. Every week we have 3 takeaways.
Yes.
As people are starting this journey to get out of their comfort zone, to find what difficult is for them, to stretch themselves beyond it, what are 3 things that people can take away and build into their program today?
Yeah, I think the first thing is start where you are. Start stacking those bricks. Don't jump to the end, because it's not going to go well, and you just won't get to the end if you skip the white belt portion, the stacking the bricks portion. I think 2, like, you have to enjoy the process. So whatever that hard is for you, if you don't enjoy doing it every day, right? Having that discipline that we talked about, right? Because you're not going to be motivated every day to go do that thing. So if you don't enjoy the process of what you're doing, then it's going to be a grind and you're going to burn out. And then finally, just find joy in it, right? At the end of the day, right? Vitality, you guys are literally saying, like, how do you live a more fulfilled life? Like, that is your whole calling and mission. And for me in running, that's been part of it, is like finding that bakery in the Gothic Quarter, seeing that
Yeah.
full moon, having those moments with my kids where like I can, go for a run and we find a baby bird. I'm like doing those things that like if I wasn't doing the things that I do, like I wouldn't have those moments with my kids either. Like there's plenty of guys our age that can't go have moments like that with their kids. And like that's what it's about, is like living life and having these moments and being able to experience life through physical activity.
Outstanding. Mate, I love that so much. I've loved this conversation. So much in there that wasn't, I guess, what I thought it would be. I love this, this touching around the joy of it, the enjoyment, the experiences of life, because like that's why we chose Vitality Collective and not Longevity Collective.
Yeah.
Right. I can pump you full of all sorts of stuff that'll keep you alive.
Right.
But like, who cares if you're on your own?
Yeah.
Who cares if you don't see the full moon? Right. Like, those are the things. Michelle and I remember vividly, it really brought this experience back to me. We were walking in Santa Barbara one time and we would have a lot of like wildfires.
Yep.
And it was evening. It was just going dark and there was a glow above the mountains. Like Santa Barbara sits nestled like right in the mountains. So there's this glow. We're like, oh shoot, is there like a fire?
Yeah.
And what we realized that we were watching was a moonrise.
Oh,
it was the full moon, bright orange, coming up over the mountains.
That's so cool.
And we were on our way somewhere walking, and we just stopped for about half an hour and just watched the moon. It was like enormous.
Yeah.
It was the coolest thing. And so I love the emphasis you put on that. It's not just about doing stuff that sucks.
Yeah.
It's about loving it along the way and stretching yourself and being proud of yourself for doing those things.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for sharing this.
Yeah, no, I could do this every week with you, man. Like this is great. Like I love talking about this stuff and everything that you guys are doing. So yeah, this is great.
Shaun, where can people follow along with your journey through this?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, just on Instagram, getting that going. LinkedIn is a big place. And then I put out 1 or 2 articles on Substack every week where I really go kind of deep into why I do these things and what it means to me and stuff like that.
And you're doing a ton more public speaking now. Where can people engage with you on that? If people are looking for speakers.
Yeah, LinkedIn's the easiest place. Just DM me and I'd love to chat, whether it's leadership training or the public speaking to organizations, stuff like that.
Incredible. Shaun, it's been a real pleasure. Love chatting with you, and we'll do it again sometime soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeremy.
What a great conversation with Shaun about pushing yourself all the way up to and beyond your limits. Here are the 3 key things you can take away from today's episode. Number 1, start where you are and stack those bricks consistently. Don't try and jump to the end, because skipping that white belt portion and those foundational steps means you won't get there at all. The process will become a miserable grind instead of sustainable progress. Number 2, find a hard thing where you genuinely enjoy the process. You're not going to be motivated every day, so if you don't enjoy the actual doing of the thing, you'll burn out before you reach your goals, and discipline won't be enough to carry you through. Number 3, look for joy in the journey, not just the achievement. Whether it's finding a bakery in Barcelona, seeing the full moon in the Everglades, or having moments with your kids, the experiences along the way are what will create a fulfilled life, and those moments only happen when you're out there doing the thing. If this episode resonated with you, the best way to support the show is to follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts, leave us a rating or a review, and send this episode to someone that you think would benefit from hearing the message. It makes a real difference helping us reach more people who could benefit from these conversations. You can also stay connected with us on Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube at Vitality Collective Performance, where we share additional insights, behind-the-scenes content, and updates on upcoming episodes. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.